Hello, everyone. I'm Claire Jones, and I offer systemized solutions to art businesses and small businesses with passion so that they can grow and scale their businesses without burning out. So this is the next video in a series where I go over all of the tips, tools, and strategies that I use both in my own business as well as in my clients' businesses. And today I thought I would go over the number of touch points that it takes to engage a customer or a client. Now, this is information that is available in Jeb Blount's book, Fanatical Prospecting. It's a great book if you haven't checked it out already. And it's really juicy information as to how to really consistently and strategically and intentionally build relationships with your audiences. And he comes from the perspective of more of sales reps, call centers, people who are selling insurance, people who are selling cars, people who are selling software. He comes from a more corporate background in all of this, but I think it's very useful stuff for businesses of all sizes in all fields, because what we're really looking at here is how do you build the know, like, and trust factor with your audiences? Because people are going to buy from people that they know, like, and trust, or brands that they know, like, and trust, companies that they know, like, and trust. Because we're in a day and age now with marketing, it's not really, you aren't showing up on the market with a new product or a new idea. 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be a new concept that you are trying to sell to someone. Yes, there's still innovation. Yes, there's still being things invented every single day, new things, but most of the businesses out there are selling something that someone else also sells. And so you're always going to have competitors in your business landscape. And it's very rare for there to be a product or a service that's completely new to the field, completely a new solution to your customer, a new solution to your client. And so if your client or your customer has a variety of businesses that they could choose from in order to solve the problem that they're looking to solve with a product or a service, then how do you differentiate yourself out from the crowd? How do you grow to build trust with them? How do you grow to build likability and credibility and expertise with them? And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the know, like, and trust factor, because people are more likely to buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And so touch points are a great way to strategically and intentionally build those relationships and build that know, like, and trust factor with your audiences. And so Jeb Blount has done a lot of research on this, and he has figured out how many touch points it takes to engage various customers. And so starting at the top with the least amount of touch points on the left-hand side here at the top, it takes 1 to 3 touches to re-engage an inactive customer. So this means that someone has already bought from you in the past. Maybe they bought from you a year ago. Maybe they bought from you 3 months ago. Maybe they bought from you 5 years ago, depending on how long you've been in business. But it still takes 1 to 3 touch points in order to re-engage them. And so what do these touch points look like? It can look like email campaigns, newsletters. It can look like phone calls. Maybe you want to call them and check in on how they're doing, how they're liking your product that they bought from you before. You can comment on their Facebook groups. You can comment on their Facebook pages. You can follow them on Instagram, like and comment on their stuff on there. Follow them on LinkedIn. You can meet them at a networking event. There's a lot of different ways where you can create a touch point with those inactive customers in order to re-engage them. You can even send them follow-up gifts. Like maybe a lot of businesses do this where they use snail mail as they know that you were a customer in the past. Bed Bath & Beyond is actually great at this. You know that you always get their 20% off coupons. That counts as a touch point. So how can you create these touch points with inactive customers? Because this is actually the easiest level of this touch point scale, is an inactive customer, because you pretty much already have their information, whether you have their phone number, whether you have their email address, or whether you have their mailing address. It's most likely that you already have their contact information. And so it's really easy to create these touch points with inactive customers. So it takes 1 to 3 touch points in order to re-engage them. So moving down on the scale, on the right-hand side here, it says it takes 1 to 5 touches to engage a prospect who is in the buying window and is familiar with you and your brand. And so let's break that down. So someone who is in the buying window, that means that they have an immediate need for your product and service and are actively looking for a product or service that's similar to yours. So this means that they have maybe already started looking for options. They've already done a few searches online. They've already gone to a few stores. They've already talked to a few people, kind of testing the waters, seeing what options are out there. And they are actively looking to buy a solution for their problem that your product or service can fix for them. And they are familiar with you and your brand. So this means they follow you on Instagram, they follow you on Facebook, or they are signed up for your newsletter list already, or you see them often at a networking event, or you see them often at your kids' soccer practice. This means that someone already knows who you are. They already know what your business is. They already know what your business offers. And they are both in the buying window, actively looking for solutions, and they are familiar with you at the same time. So it only takes 1 to 5 touch points in order to engage them. They are already familiar. They already have that know, like, and trust factor with you. And so they are ready to buy. And so it's really only takes a few nudges in order to get them to follow through with the buy. So going down on the scale, it takes 3 to 10 touches to engage a prospect who has a high degree of familiarity with you or your brand, but is not in the buying window. So the difference between the one previous to this and this one is that they are already familiar with you, but they are not in the buying window. And so if they are still meeting you in networking groups a lot, they are still seeing you on Facebook a lot, they are still seeing you on Instagram a lot, they see you in the office all the time, they have a high degree of familiarity with you, but they are just not in the active buying window at the moment. And so that's why it takes more touch points in order to engage them, because they're not actively looking around for a solution at this time. They don't even know, sometimes they don't even know that they have a problem that they need to get fixed in the first place. So it takes 3 to 10 touches in order to engage them. And so again, this can look like emails, it can look like phone calls, it can look like texts, it can look like talking to each other at your kids' soccer practice, it can look like talking to each other at a mutual networking event or a mutual friends New Year's party, somewhere where you can just touch in with them, check in with them, see how they're doing, ask them what's going on in their life, check in with their kids, check in with their wife's birthdays, their anniversary might be coming up. So this can be any type of touch point, but you have to do 3 to 10 touches to engage them if they are already familiar with you, but not in the buying window. So going down the scale even more, it takes 5 to 12 touches to engage a warm inbound lead. So what does that mean? A warm inbound lead is someone who is coming to you to ask about your services or products. So this is someone who may not have a high degree of familiarity with you, but they are in the buying window. So they are actively looking for solutions that you provide. And so they are a warm inbound lead. They have reached out to you through your website, through a phone call, through a text message, and they are actively asking about your products and services. But because they don't have a high degree of familiarity with you yet, it takes 5 to 12 touch points. And so this can look like conversations in DMs, it can look like emails, it can look like phone calls, it can look like postcards. However you engage this warm inbound lead, it takes 5 to 12 touch points. And so going down on the scale even more, it takes 5 to 20 touches to engage a prospect who has some familiarity with you and your brand, but it's bio window dependent. And so this is someone who has some familiarity with you, like they know that you exist. They are somewhat aware of what you offer, but they are not really sure exactly what you offer to the world. And they may or may not be in the buying window at the time. So they may be looking, they may be not looking, they might know who you are, they might have some idea, they might know that you're a plumber, but they don't know where you're a plumber. They don't know what kind of plumbing you offer, whether you do new construction or old construction fixes. They just aren't that sure about you yet. That know, like, and trust factor just hasn't really been solidly established yet. And so it takes 5 to 20 touches in order to engage them because they're just not really sure. And so if you are reaching out to them, say every other day, on the high end of the spectrum, that's going to be 40 days if you're doing it every single day. But if it's every weekday, then that's going to be 40 divided by 5 is 8, I want to say. 7, right? No, 8. Sorry, I had to do some math there in my head. Multiplication tables, man. So that's 8 weeks worth of reaching out to them in order to engage them. So it does take a long time in order to develop these relationships. So you really need to be strategic with it. You really need to be intentional with it. And how can you strategically and intentionally build that know, like, and trust factor? So going down the scale even more, it takes 20 to 50 touch points in order to engage a cold prospect who does not know you or your brand. So this is someone that has no idea who you are. They have no idea what you offer. You are entirely just cold messaging them. You are just meeting them for the very first time. They have no idea who you are. They have no idea what you offer, and they have no idea how you could possibly help them. And so it does take a lot of time in order to build that know, like, and trust factor from scratch. So 20 to 50 touches. So that can take up to 3 months in order to engage this cold prospect. A lot of people really tout the benefits of cold messaging and cold DMing and cold emailing and cold calling and knocking on random doors, but it really takes a lot of effort and a lot of time in order to engage a cold prospect. So you have to be prepared to have a long build-up cycle in order to engage clients. That's why Jeb Blount really advocates for a 90-day sales cycle, because it takes, if you're engaging cold prospects, it takes around 3 months in order to engage them. And so 90 days, the work that you do within those 90 days pay off after those 90 days are over. So this is really important when it comes to being consistent and regular with your touch points, because you need to make sure that you are consistently showing up for those 90 days in order to reap the benefits after those 90 days are over. And so that's why sales cycles do take a while. You can't expect to have a huge success right off the bat unless you've already established your know, like, and trust factor with your audiences. And so this is why I highly recommend starting your branding efforts and starting your marketing efforts before you even launch a product or a service. And so this is the importance of setting up your social media accounts, setting up your website, setting up your emailing sequences before you have a product or a service to launch, because you want to prime the pump. You want to really create that know, like, and trust factor with your audiences ahead of time, in those 3 months ahead of time. So then when you do launch something, they're already ready to buy. They already know, like, and trust you, and they are ready to trust you with their money. They know that you are credible. They know that you are valuable. They know that you are an expert in what you are doing, and so they are ready to give their money to you. So this is really important when it comes to building that know, like, and trust factor with your audiences. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. I hope I was able to really break down quantitatively what it takes in order to engage a customer or a client. So you can use CRMs to track this kind of stuff. You can use spreadsheets to track this kind of stuff. I personally have a Google spreadsheet where I list all of my network contacts, all of my potential clients, all of my people that I interact with in my businesses, partners, stuff like that, and referral partners. And so how can you just keep track of how many touch points that you have with someone, stuff like that. So let me know if this was helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns. I love hearing from you guys. Comment below as to what was the most valuable for you out of this video. And until next time, love you all, take care, and have a good one. Bye.